For example, we do have on the ground very often people who will tell our agents on the ground, will give you the name of the first registrant and the last registrant, but we cannot give you the particulars of people who you think should be taken to the revising courts. And that's probably the reason why we have them there. When we have cases where we think are suspicious, we need to take down those details so that we can go to the revising court subsequently. And that is something that has been agreed upon with the IEC. But there are some people on the ground, as IEC officers in the different registration centers, who refuse to give those data. And it becomes pretty tiring to have to call the IEC officials on a daily basis to request for the same information to be passed on to those people. So I think it will be important after a session like this to send information to all of them, to know that these are requirements of, they are required to give that information when it's requested. We do not have to go back every time and call the IEC officials to call them on the ground. It's time consuming, it's frustrating for us and for them to have us call them every day. So please, I would request you to pass that information down to your officers on the ground so it's clear once and for all.
I will just want to come back to the issue raised by my brother Lamin Manneh about what he calls some overzealous staff on the ground not following instructions regarding being open and transparent with agents. Actually, and as PR of Canifing, I visited all the registration centers. And every time I go there, the first message I give was to ask my staff to be as open and transparent as possible with the agents when it comes to requesting information on claimants. And the other issue, I always tell them also not to harass claimants, because the claimants should be allowed to register freely. And if they voluntarily want to share anything with the agents, it's up to them, but they should not be harassed. And if they need any information, let them resort to our staff, and who have been very cooperative in that regard. The entire Canifing area, I thought, all the agents from all the parties told me they were very satisfied with the performance of our registration staff, who were very professional and complying with the instructions that we gave them.
Quick follow-up, as Mr. Cherno said just now, I didn't want to make it personal, but I'd called him several times on a number of issues, and I did mention to him that we never had one issue in KM. We mentioned that, we agreed on that. The issues were elsewhere. I didn't want to single out any particular region, but the issues were elsewhere, and I told you that we agreed on that. So there was never an issue there. The people who we had those issues with were people who often do know the rules, but they did not apply. And anytime I called IEC, as I said, I've called all of you very often. Anytime I called IEC, the matter was resolved, which is why I said we criticize you in the past, but when some things are going well now, it's incumbent upon us also to say that. So up to now, anytime we had those issues when I called, they were resolved. And that is why we're saying this now here, so that people out there in the field will hear it from you and will know that these are obligations on them.